Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Just Run podcast with me, Reese Morgan.
And me, Nathan Marshall.
This week we have James Frost with us, hailing from Guildford. He is the founder of Flaming Phoenix Bars. He's created a specialised, calorie-dense, ultra-high carb and easily digestible flapjack, crafted to fuel adventures and challenges. You can find this bar on his Instagram page at Flaming Phoenix UK. And we'll drop a link in this at the end, obviously, for all of you lovely people to check it out. But let's dive straight in, really, and not waste any more of James's time. So, James, thank you for joining us and for coming on the Just Run podcast, mate.
No, thank you guys both very much for having us on, having me on. As I was just mentioning to you both off air, came about very serendipitously a few weeks ago at the Cardiff running show, where Paul Breen from Gertlash Events, who I've known for a little while, very kindly invited me to his Berkeley Marathons UK event, which is a real up and coming, exciting, unique event, which I'd highly recommend people to check out. Suggested that I get in touch with you guys, and luckily Nathan came over, we had a chat, and keen to delve into more, hopefully, about Flaming Phoenix.
Awesome. And also good luck doing the Berkeley Marathon. I don't know if you know much about the Berkeley Marathons, but yeah, he's been endorsed by lads directly, and apparently it's brutal, and not one person has finished since he started. So that is going to be an interesting one for you. Are you have you done any research into it, or how's the training going for that?
No, so I went to Paul's event, I think it's a couple of months ago now, and he invited me just to have a stand there, and I got to sort of get the essence of everyone who was doing it, everyone who's very nervous. I think it was his second edition, so got to meet everyone there. And obviously my flapjacks, which we'll obviously delve into, are perfect for those really tough ultra marathons like Paul facilitates. So it's great to speak to a lot of new and dedicated ultra runners about probably one of the most arduous challenges at the moment in the UK, which is certainly growing.
Yeah, and I completely put my foot in there. I thought that you said you were. I thought you said you were going to do it, and he invited you to do it. So
After seeing
yeah.
people try and do it, it's probably the last thing I want to do at this stage. But it's a very fun and innovative event, as well as being obviously incredibly challenging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
James is going to run around and giving out the flapjacks on each loop.
You know what? Yeah, you should do what Paul and you should do, James, is hide a couple of flapjacks instead of pages from books. That's one of the prizes. You got to find your flapjack.
I'm sure Paul's always thinking of new ideas. No doubt he'll be listening to this. So hopefully that will sow a seed into his head.
So, James, as with every guest, obviously we've only spoken a little bit off air. This is the first time chatting with you and actually meeting you. But yeah, just what we do with everyone is we love to know a little bit about your background and tell us about yourself and everything. Doesn't have to be with your sporting background. Just tell us about yourself, where you're from, and take us into the origins of the Flaming Phoenix Bar, I guess.
Absolutely. It's a good starting point. I'm 24 years old, as you mentioned, based in Surrey, just south of London, fairly recently graduated from Exeter University. And I've always been very passionate about health, fitness, and nutrition. As you mentioned, Reese, always personally been very, very enthusiastic about all things health, fitness, and sports. Played a lot of sports growing up. I still try my best to do it now. And personally, always struggled to consume enough calories day to day. And this sort of led to consistent, not binging, but consistent need for convenient calories. And naturally, where do people go? Energy bars, flapjacks, and protein bars. So on a daily basis, I was eating all different types of these foods just to get calories in. And then, like any sort of vain Gen Z, I thought it would be an absolutely outstanding idea to start a TikTok page where essentially, you could probably still find it, where I essentially reviewed all of the typical energy bars, flapjacks, and protein bars out there. And bizarrely at the time for me, but I guess not bizarrely in hindsight, this page in particular got a tremendous amount of traction with trail runners and long distance runners, ultra runners, who consume a lot of foods of this type. And as I'm sure you can imagine, have a lot of issues with fueling. I mean, I was even listening to one of your snippets on Instagram. It might have been on Nathan's, it might have been on just the podcast, where Nathan was talking about how he's, when you were doing your 215-mile ultra, Nathan, that the amount of calories that you were burning, I think when you did your 55-mile day, that you burned in excess of 1,100 calories, and that you were in a massive calorie deficit. And this was just an eternal problem that I discovered amongst ultra runners, that people just couldn't get enough calories in to sustain themselves when they were doing these really long distances. So I gradually engaged in more and more discussions with these trail runners, ultra runners that were engaging with my content, began to understand more and more, just besides calories, about what they were sort of looking for from a new product, what their issues were, and what they would want to see. So that's when I decided to sort of delve into creating Phoenix bars, which would be a more unique and specialized flapjack specifically for trail runners and ultra runners. And as Reese mentioned at the top of the show, the sort of unique selling point, or the unique feature in particular, is the number of calories in how small the flapjack is. So long story short, that's essentially how I've got in from TikTok, a nutrition enthusiast, TikTok, to making these very specialized ultra running flapjacks, Phoenix bars.
Awesome. I mean, I suppose we should probably start by saying thank you, mate, because you are right. You put it correctly. It is eternally an issue. I know anybody, Nathan will agree, and anybody listening will always agree. I've said this and I'll say it every single time, like ultra running, or when you're running much longer distances, is basically an eating competition. I mean, you look forward to those checkpoints, you try and scoff everything you can. And in between checkpoints, you're taking in gels, you're taking in tablets, you're taking in this, you're taking in that. And obviously it's very difficult to prevent that deficit. So thank you for trying to develop this bar that is giving, and I want you to delve in, if you can as well, to take a moment of how many calories and carbs and everything are actually in it, because it is this, fair play, it's jam packed, and to get that much like in nutritional value into such a small bar is incredible. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, off the back of that, do you mind just telling anybody who doesn't know about it, because they will after this, like you said, the nutritional content, what is in it, like in terms of value?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It was really interesting, obviously, speaking to a wide variety of people. Everyone's dietary and nutrition needs, even just in the, say, the ultra running sphere, massively varies in what they're looking for. So it was a real sort of challenge, I guess, to make something that really hits all of their key criteria. But with regards to the calories, so it's about 552 calories per very compact flapjack. So each Phoenix bar weighs a very lightweight 120 grams. It measures about 7 by 9 centimeters. I've actually got one here, but it's looking like it's trying to find out. Can I
522.
550, I should say. Sorry,
Jesus.
Isn't that amazing?
That's unbelievable.
That should unblur it. So you can probably see that, I guess, from my hands.
Yeah.
Trying to make it as small as possible, but equally 552 calories. So the idea behind that, is, you guys will obviously know, is to maximize the number of calories that people can get in each bite when you're not necessarily hungry during an ultra, but you're really, really in a massive calorie deficit. So you need to maximize the number of calories in each bite, and then also to help you minimize the weight and the space that you're carrying, because if you're doing a 215-mile ultra, weight and space is king. So those were the two real benefits of trying to put as many calories as possible in a very compact, lightweight, and tasty flapjack.
Because that could last you about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very versatile as you can imagine. People like to consume it in all sorts of different ways. So some people like to have it whole, say, even before a race or the day before a race. You might wake up, and as you guys know, these ultras start very early. So the last thing that you would want is, I guess, a substantial breakfast, but you need to fuel. So having a lot of calories that you could put into you, say, in the morning when you're in the car, etc. It's been one way people have consumed it. Obviously, during a race, people having, say, half a bar an hour with a gel, something like that. People can chop it up into chunks and have bite-sized pieces as and when needed. Say put it in a sandwich bag, or even post-race as well, because it's got 18 grams of protein to try and replenish all those calories that you've burnt during the day.
That's
Oh,
awesome. Yeah, I mean, you made a good point there, actually. I mean, before a race, I always have a bit of a diggy belly. Like, I don't know whether anybody else does, but before like a big race, like I'll obviously be fueling correctly in the days leading up to. And I love a breakfast. I don't go any day without ever having a breakfast. But before a big race, I always struggle. I don't know whether it's nerves or it's too early because, like you said, a lot of these races, you got to be at the start line by 6 or something. And I mean, that means getting up at 4 when you've got to drive. And I don't fancy having eggs on toast at 4 in the morning or whatever. So it's just, that would be a perfect thing to get 500 plus calories in you in the car on the way with a banana or something or whatever. That's great. I mean, can I ask, so what is it? I'm interested in the kind of, when you developed this, you said that you saw a lot of interest on TikTok from runners and ultra runners alike. So is that kind of, it's not that you're aiming it at that angle, but is that where you get a lot more of your feedback from, is from that kind of market then? Is it that audience with the bar?
It's definitely, as I'm sure you guys know, having your podcast in the space, ultra runners and trail runners are very, very engaged audience on social media, very, very proactive, reactive, and very kind at giving guidance, advice, etc. So I had a lot of advice, even designing, say, the packaging, for instance. I put something on on a Facebook group which has a lot of trail and ultra runners in, and was comparing packaging options, etc. And they gave me great advice and feedback on how to sort of design the products. But I think I definitely geared it more towards the ultra endurance space, but I think naturally from there, when you create something that's very tasty and calorie dense as well, there's always other people or other sort of groups that want it for whatever reason, other sort of niches that struggle to get in their calories and nutrition in. And I think, I guess if to go down the rabbit hole more broadly, if you go into a supermarket, you'd find 99 calorie products, or the world's generally going the way of trying to get less calories into food. And this is obviously a direct sort of contrast to that, trying to fill people up with more calories for that real, I guess, underserved niche of ultra endurance performers who really, really need that.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose because then you can branch out to triathletes because obviously they have like little pouches on their bikes and whatever, especially when they get out of the pool, the swim section, and they're quite rushing, and then you've got everything really, hikers, even if you're just going on a hike with some friends and you don't want to be carrying too much weight. That's a great product, mate. And yeah, it's I've said this before with various people. I haven't tried it yet. So if you fancy sending me some freebies, I will test it for you and do like a little review and a video for you, James. I would be I'd be kind enough to do that for you.
It'd be rude not to. It'd be rude not to. I think the other thing that I forgot to mention about ultra endurance performers is I very rarely find an ultra runner or a trail runner or any sort of runner that's really sort of settled and happy with the nutrition that they're currently using. They're very much experimenting. And as you sort of alluded to, there is people are always interested in experimenting with new products to look to boost and optimize their performance, which definitely helps. And I think that's why people to date have been really receptive to Phoenix Buzz, something novel, something very unique and different to what's out there. And I think, and also because we spoke about it briefly, I think talking about GI issues or digestibility, because that's probably the number one sort of startling thing that I found out about ultra runners. I think one of my initial calls with an ultra runner, they mentioned that the number one reason that people don't finish ultra endurance races is because of GI issues, which I was astounded by, because people put in so much time, effort, and dedication into training for these massive ultras, and then just to be sort of caught short by the fallibility of their stomach or the nutrition they're using really sort of upset me or struck a chord, because I just can't imagine how frustrating that would be. So that was, I guess, another really core part of Phoenix Buzz, because it's all well and good putting in a substantial amount of calories, but if people can't eat them or even keep them down, then there's, I guess, no point. So making Phoenix Bars easy to digest, because people generally found flapjacks to be a lot more digestible than, say, an energy bar or a gel was very important. So Phoenix Bars are flapjacks. They're made out of natural ingredients that you'd expect to find in flapjacks. They're vegan. They're also gluten-free, and a lot of people, even if they're not celiac, struggle with digesting gluten they've found during races. It's not loaded with sugar, another key part of causing people GI issues generally. If you think about gels, not to badmouth them anymore, obviously Phoenix Bars aren't competing with gels, but they're also palm oil free, which equally adds to the sustainability side of things, and also GMO free as well. So trying to make something very dense, but also easy to eat and easy to get down.
That's awesome. Where'd you make them then? Is this something that you like started in your kitchen, James? You just kind of like go the ingredients one day and think, I'm gonna make this. Started in your kitchen, tasted it, did a few trials and thought, that's all right. Let's go bigger. And then so where'd you actually produce them now? Like where do they come from?
So they're made by a manufacturer in the UK, in Hampshire, and that's actually been another aspect that I've been trying to promote, because interestingly, a lot of people like the fact that Phoenix Bars are made in the UK, not necessarily something of a selling point, but normally when they hear about all the other benefits of the product and then hear it's made in the UK, that's sort of a bit of an icing on the cake, which is, I guess, an added bonus. Yeah, it started on essentially an Excel spreadsheet of trying to put calorie dense things together, and then obviously into a kitchen, and then obviously to a couple of food scientists, to the manufacturer itself. So plenty of different iterations, because again, there's so many different key points that you want to put into a product like this. If you change one thing slightly, can really impact another aspect of the products. So that was really hard to nail down, but I think I picked up the first batch of Phoenix Bars from my manufacturer a mere 26 weeks ago. So it was April the 18th was the day that I picked up my first batch. So very, very recent. Took pre-orders for the bars before then, sold a bunch through pre-orders, which sort of verified the demand for that, and then launched the product. And then here I am today, 6 months on.
Crazy. Did you take any inspiration from any other bars, like flapjacks in particular? Like for instance, I haven't tried everything out there because it is a minefield, but I've tried my fair share of things. And some great, some not too great, no names mentioned. But one of the ones that I consistently went back to that I found was a brilliant flapjack that was really lightweight and easy to digest and like crumbled in my mouth was that, is it I never know what to say it. Chi Charge? Chia? They're phenomenal. They do like this sea salt and salted caramel one that were just dissolved in my mouth. And I took a few of them with me on the 100 and they were really impressive. So I guess, yeah, in a really long way of asking you, James, is there any that you kind of compared it to and wanted to make it quite similar to?
It's a good question. I mean, I obviously tried them all through my TikTok page, through my market research, and generally, when I started reviewing more and more bars, people started requesting me to review bars, get them in, etc. And there's obviously some that I liked more than others. People who want to be forensic about it can go through TikTok and find the ones that I like more than others. But equally, I found it very hard because of the fact that someone can come to me and say, I really like this. I have this every day, or I have this for every ultra, and it's the perfect thing for me. And then someone else would say about that same bar or flapjack that, no, that one I won't touch again because it gave me a GI issue, or I find it claggy, hard to eat, etc., etc. So I was always very conscious of that, but I did certainly look at all try and look at all the good bits of the bars and products. But equally, it's a very busy market, the sort of energy bars. Having tried them all, there's lots of different things out there, and I knew that if I wanted to bring something to market or create something to fill a specific need, it would have to be very unique and different to what's out there. And Phoenix Bars obviously stand out by the calorie content and a few other sort of niche features, which I hopefully will dive into as well.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, it's really quickly, I wanted to ask you this at the start and somehow I forgot. Flaming Phoenix is a pretty badass name. Where did you get that from?
Good question. So the Phoenix is meant to symbolize rising from the ashes, obviously. So it's in essence, when an ultra runner takes a bite of a Phoenix bar, they're at mile 50, 100, 150, etc. They take a bite of my very calorie dense flapjacks, and hopefully they rise from the ashes themselves and get a new sort of lease of life, because you've all been there as ultra runners when you're really flagging, you've hit the wall, to use that overused term of phrase, and you just need that real energy boost. So that's where I guess the Phoenix comes in, other than being quite striking, quite cool, quite bold as well, to really capture people's attention on social media, which is inundated with content, and in stores, which is already inundated with products as well.
Yeah,
That's clever.
that's wicked,
I like
isn't it?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Mate, you said that, and I immediately had like this T-shirt design in my head. Like, have you seen Deathmatch Running Company? They got amazing designs of like skeletons and stuff running and what have you, and running, pain cave and stuff. And the minute you said that, I was like, yeah, a runner rising from the ashes. That's badass. I like that, mate. That's really cool.
Thank you. No,
Um,
it
I
definitely
mean,
just stand out.
yeah, that's cool. Something you alluded to actually as well, sorry, earlier, which I'm really curious of. What was the feedback then about the packaging? I'm curious. What was the?
I've probably got over about 150 comments on this Facebook group that I posted on. I just had a few different options with regards to the packaging. I sort of got it down to, I think, 2 or 3 different iterations that I came up with the graphic design, or the graphic designer came up with a bit of input from me. And then, yeah, I just wanted to run it by people. And again, that was invaluable because of the fact that I was actually pretty set on one packaging, or at least the 10, 20 people close to me I asked, they were pretty set on one packaging. And then I just put it to a massive group of ultra runners, and they all were really, really keen on this packaging. So that
Hmm,
sort of taught me, and I was glad I did it, because I was almost about not to do it, to not about to do it. So I was glad to do that in the end. And yeah, something that really stuck out and was different. I think the way that this is packaged, to pick this up for the umpteenth time, is trying to, obviously the portrait design is quite different. You'll notice a lot of bars are sort of horizontal, so the portrait design is meant to
hmm,
be more sort of performance orientated, which is definitely more where Phoenix bars are geared towards that performance side, and I guess a bit more of that sort of power. And equally, because it's almost medicinal in a way that it can give you so much energy, that sort of white aspect of it as well, contrasted with the orange. And then, as you can sort of very maybe not clearly see, try to put the calories, the protein, and the carbohydrates on the front, because I was understood that people were looking out for calories. And obviously, you'll generally find calories on the back, which equally you can find with Phoenix bars. But just putting those calories on the front, so that if someone walked past it or saw it on Facebook or Instagram, etc., they'd immediately see that something like this could really help them fueling.
yeah. Do you know what? That is brilliant because when I was prepping for the 100 and I had to pack my bag, I mean, that's one of the hardest parts of the whole bloody race is the prep and all the food and stuff you got to have. And it's all in Ziploc bags. And I spent hours writing on the front of them because I was using things like track bars, and I spent hours writing the calories in them, and all of them had different ones. So to put them on the front like that, just to be able to reach in, grab it, and go, oh, yeah, okay. When you're a bit delusional and lacking sleep and stuff, it's just you don't want to be working too hard mentally. So that's a nice little touching point. I like that. That's real
You
nice.
mentioned something. I mean, a lot of these ultras now, Reese, have these emergency calorie requirements, which are obviously a good thing as well, that you're mandated to carry between 600 to 800 calories on you as well. And just in case of emergency, really, and probably won't get consumed during the race, which is another angle that Phoenix Buzz have fitted in quite well, because they are so compact, lightweight, and just convenient with the number of calories on them and that they provide as well. So that's definitely another avenue where I've seen Phoenix Buzz being helpful for ultra runners.
Flavor. Flavor is such a huge factor.
Yes.
Such a huge factor with these things, right? I mean, this is a two-part question, really, James, because first of all, how did you balance the flavor with the nutritional needs that you've got in there? And were there any challenges in finding the right ingredients or recipes? Because it must be such a tough thing because you get this idea in your head and then you're like, well, it's got to taste good. I don't want it tasting like shit. I mean, it could have 500 calories, but it could taste like you're eating dirt. So, how did you work that out?
It's a great question. Again, coming back to market research, one of the things that came back to me a lot was that people's palates were suffering with the sort of added sweeteners, the amount of sugar in the nutrition that they were consuming more broadly in society, but I guess more specifically within sports nutrition. So people were generally looking for leaning more towards plain flavors, things that were palatable, borderline savory, that they could consume consistently during an ultra or during their training without sort of getting sick and tired of them. Because if you're doing a really long ultra, like Nathan's 215-mile, you can quite easily get sick of consuming the same food. So making something that was very nutritious, but equally something that was very tasty without being sickly sweet was very important. But it's funny because a lot of ultra runners see food as fuel and will eat anything, but equally a lot of ultra runners will see that taste is a very important thing. So I just wanted to, luckily Phoenix bars do taste delicious. The iteration we've got at the moment is a light vanilla flavor with a bit of coconut in it as well, without obviously being sickly sweet to hammer home that point. But so yeah, that's how I sort of did that. That was my main takeaway, not making something that's sickly sweet. And I obviously was able to taste that it was delectable when we were doing all the different trials, but it's been very pleasing to hear everyone else has thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I think 26 weeks on since the bars are actually being made, I'm now up to about 104 5-star reviews on our website, with no reviews less than 5 stars from ultra runners. And obviously taste has been something that's been really highlighted amongst that.
That's good. That's really good, because yeah, you're right. I think one of the biggest problems is that a lot of these gels and bars and chews early in the race and the early miles, it's okay. But as it goes on, it's so sweet. It's just too much, and that can be enough to upset your stomach and give you GI issues. And also, it's enough to put you off eating them. And that, if that's all you've got on you for the race, and you're craving real food from the next checkpoint, really. And in fact, one of our previous guests, Matt, said, Matt Grills, he's an amazing ultra runner. He said his dentist recommended that he has a sip of water after every kind of gel he has, I think, it's his teeth, which isn't really realistic. But I can also see the mentality behind that, because my God, if you're running 50 miles, even 30 miles or anything more, like 100 or what Nathan's done, can you imagine the amount of sugar your teeth, it's kind of, that hit is taken. So yeah, that's really interesting. This is the question I was going to ask later on down the line, but I've got to ask it now. Are you toying with, or are you in kind of the lab at the moment, so to speak, with other flavors? You gonna look at something down the line?
Definitely, I think that's the sort of rite of passage. Sort of following on with the trend of what I've trying to be doing so far, I'm keen to better understand what flavors I guess people would be looking for. So that's probably my number one question when people try and like Phoenix bars and they ask me about different flavors. I'd probably throw back on them and ask what flavors that they would like to see. And there's been a variety of flavors that have been thrown back at me. So there's definitely some thinking going on with regards to future product types. So if anyone has any further ideas on what flavors that they would like to see and they're listening, please do reach out to me and give me your thoughts.
Chocolate.
Pizza. Oh, I'm saying pizza. Pizza and chips with a slight hint of ale.
Yeah. Sunday roast dinner.
Oh God, can you imagine that?
With mint sauce.
Yeah, my God. Yeah, one tastes like roast chicken, one tastes like carrots, one tastes like mash, and you got to take all three of them together. There you go. No, don't. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll come back to you on that one. I will say one of my favorite flavors out there, as an idea, then I suppose, is watermelon. And I know that's a big hit in the kind of, I don't like saying in the running scene, but it is. Like, I mean, everybody I speak to, you've heard of Tailwind, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've tried all of their flavors, bar the plain one. But I've tried all of them, and my favorite one is the Courtney DeWalter melon, because Courtney DeWalter is a phenomenal. I don't know if you know about her. She's literally the greatest ultra runner out there at the moment, female ultra runner, and she's got a limited edition flavor. And at all the races, at every checkpoint, you always have watermelon. I tried watermelon and salt recently, which was interesting. That was really tasty. So it's refreshing, but I find watermelon isn't too strong or too sweet. But to get that into a flapjack form would probably be incredibly difficult. So I guess it depends what the product is, I guess. Okay, so about the bar then, mate, you've got some special things about the bar which I want to delve into, and I'd like you to talk more about. One thing, well, two things really, that I don't think I've ever seen, and I don't know if it's me just being ignorant and I've just skimmed over it. But you said climate resilient
Yeah.
and altitude was
Optimal.
altitude
Yes.
optimized. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by climate resilient? Like, am I being
Is that
stupid?
getting
Is that because
soggy or something? Possibly.
yeah,
It's a good one. I think it's good. It would be good to bring it back to probably one of the other feet. I mean, I touched upon it briefly about coconut oil, and that's a real key ingredient for Phoenix bars. So the coconut oil within my flapjacks essentially means that they almost melt in your mouth, meaning they're not claggy like traditional flapjacks. They're very easy to get down, which really helps when ultra runners are eating on the move. They don't want something that's difficult to eat, difficult to get the calories in, etc., etc. So coconut oil has been very helpful from that perspective. But equally, coconut oil really helps Phoenix bars not freezing at cold temperatures. So you can imagine some of the really tough races in the UK, like the Spine race, the Winter Spine,
Oh, yeah, of course.
and you hear stories about people reaching into their pockets and grabbing out an energy bar or a gel or something, and it's just completely frozen. So that's something that really intrigued me. And hence the coconut oil very much helps with that. And subsequently, Phoenix bars have been used for people summiting the likes of Mount Denali or Manaslu, which is the eighth highest mountain in the world, because of the fact that this is a very calorie dense flapjack that doesn't freeze, which is very niche and specialized to those Arctic or very cold demands. So that's the first part of climate resilient. And I think the fact that, sorry for whoever mentioned chocolate, I think it was you, Nathan, the Phoenix bars don't contain chocolate at the moment. And chocolate's been, I guess, as you can imagine, not great for if people are at really warm climates, reaching into their pocket and grabbing out a chocolate bar or chocolate flapjack and realizing it's melted. So I guess that's why Phoenix bars are climate resilient, because they don't freeze in cold temperatures, they don't melt in hot climates either, the way that it's been designed, which also equally for the hot climates allows it to be designed in those really hot exotic ultra marathons, which I guess we don't get much of in the UK. But for instance, Marathon des Sables, I was at the Marathon des Sables Expo a couple of weeks ago, and people were fascinated by that point of view, obviously going out into the desert in hot climates, needing calories, but obviously calories that aren't going to melt either. So that's the sort of climate resilient point of Phoenix bars. And then the altitude optimized one, Phoenix bars contain 8 different vitamins and minerals, all of which are naturally occurring, like manganese, iron, and phosphorus. And what these are designed to do are to boost energy and overall health, particularly during those really long multi-day ultras where you can't get your fruit and veg in for whatever reason. So giving you those vitamins and minerals, I think is a bit underserved. But equally, some of these vitamins and minerals, like vitamin E, vitamin B1, vitamin B7, have been proven to help boost acclimatization and to optimize performance at altitude as well. So that equally helps people doing extreme expeditions. But we all know someone who's done some very extreme niche ultra at altitude, the likes of a UTMB event, where they need all the help that they can get.
Well, Christ, Jane, how did you? Fair play, mate. I'm shocked, like genuinely. Like I don't know if, like I said, I've ever just skimmed over that on any other product, but I don't think I've ever seen that. That's really clever. Like
Yeah,
really clever.
the detail that's gone into it is brilliant, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
thought
it
of
was.
everything.
I think it's
Yeah.
just trying to make it as specialized as it is, as sort of universally usable within that sort of niche of ultra running, extreme adventure running, etc. So those seems like real key points. And again, coming back to that sort of performance point of view, anything that could give someone a leg up doing that sort of ultra, whether that's because their nutrition is inedible because it's freezing or melting, or because they're struggling with altitude, was a bit of a no-brainer to me. But I'm very surprised, Reese, that you didn't mention one of the, I think, the most exciting point of Phoenix bars that really sort of, when I tell people that their eyebrows firmly raise, and that's the fact that Phoenix bars can be mixed with water to form a porridge or a smoothie for variety of consumption. Because arguably, what do people like more than a flapjack is porridge, particularly on the morning of a race as well. So obviously, Phoenix bars are a very calorie dense, convenient flapjack, ready to eat, chopped up as and when required to help people save time, etc., etc. But a number of people like to mix their Phoenix bars with water or milk and add their favorite foods to it, banana, peanut butter, etc. Have it with a cup of tea in the morning of, say, a race or just before a big training run, etc., and have it as a very tasty and nutritious porridge as well, and even as a smoothie to replace all those fluids that you're losing as well. So those are very sort of specialized points of Phoenix bars, which again, I guess, make them more versatile and can be used in a number of different circumstances.
I
It was
feel like
literally
you
like
should be dropping the mic now.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's literally. I feel like that's yeah. You fair play, mate. Game changer. And also, FYI, that was my next question. So thank you for that. I literally had the porridge thing was on my list of things to ask you. So it doesn't matter. You got it out there anyway. And also, it sounds friggin' delicious with milk. That sounds good. I'm not even a big milk drinker. I ever in tea, coffee, mainly oat. But with a cup of milk or something, or like mixing it into a porridge, I love a porridge. Fair play. Yes, you really have thought of everything, mate. Question, I'm sure I saw it on your website earlier.
Yeah.
If you, how long do these last? Like, what's the shelf life on them?
So it's got a long shelf life, I think, of about 12 months before manufacture, which is, I don't think I've seen too many, if any, protein bars or flapjacks with a longer shelf life out there, which really helps with regards to getting the product into people's hands. Obviously, mainly people sort of buy their nutrition and use it in the next few months, but for whatever reason, if you were saving it for something special, it will definitely last.
It's really impressive.
It
Really,
sounds like a
I'm
great product for a multi-day race as well.
Definitely.
Because instead of packing like a pot of porridge, you can just pack a load of these, and they're not taking up much space as well in your bag. Probably lighter than a pot of porridge as well, and you've got the two options to use in the morning and during the race. So yeah, I think it's brilliant for a multi-day. You should get in touch with Ultra X and It's Why You Run.
well. I was going to bring that up because of Ultra X. Because weren't you at the Snowdonia one in July?
I was lucky enough to be invited to Ultrex Wales and Ultrex England to raise awareness about Phoenix bars and to meet a lot of obviously new and dedicated ultra runners who were, I guess, learning about their nutrition in the nascent stages of that, or equally experienced ultra runners who are looking to improve their performance. So obviously tough multi-day races, those were fantastic learning opportunities and great to speak to and meet in person so many ultra runners that I'd either sort of messaged over Instagram or TikTok or meeting them for the first time as well. And I think coming back to your point, Nathan, about the multi-day stuff, that's definitely the harder the race. I think the more need for the real calorie dense nutrition that Phoenix bars offer. So I think Phoenix bars have been used in the likes of the Summer Spine Race, the Dragon's Back, and also people training for the MDS, and obviously the Barclays Marathon, which we spoke about before, which is obviously a singular day race, but up to 24 hours. So they have been used in a number of races, ranging from not bizarrely, I guess, half marathon distance up all the way up to your really long and tough, extreme multi-day races as well. I think with the half marathon point, which is not something I necessarily thought Phoenix bars would fit well into, at the Cardiff Running Show, met so many new runners or dedicated shorter distance runners who are interested in my flapjacks and sort of gradually started to understand why. And that's because of the reasons that we spoke about, Reese, that people aren't hungry before they do exercise. They wanted something that was nutritious that they could have the morning of. But the fact that my bars have so much energy in them that this is a real way to boost performance, whether you're doing something shorter or longer. So a lot of people were having this just before that they were doing the Cardiff half marathon, I should say, and really enjoyed them. Really felt the benefits of it, and luckily left a number of 5-star reviews on my website as well.
Awesome. That's what I guess
Do-
with the half marathon type of distance, it would probably be something you'd have before or after, I guess. Because if you're especially if you're trying to run a quick half marathon, usually they don't have a chance. They don't even give themselves a chance to slug down a bar. It's usually a gel or something, and it was just some water. But that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think you're very clearly onto something, James. I mean, yeah, that's and if it would be okay, I would love to sample some just because I I definitely 100% want to try it. And some of the trails up around here are quite demanding, and there's some races planned for next year and stuff. In fact, next month, I say next month, in 2 days, I'm doing the calendar challenge, which is, or whatever you want to call it, the where you run a kilometer every day based on the
a
number of days.
kilometre. You're an ultra
Yeah,
runner. Do a mile, you pussy.
no. I knew you'd jump in with that, you smart ass. The reason I'm not doing the miles is because are you insane? Like with a family and a young kid and everything, like I'll be away from my wife and boy so much. Like it's miles is
Run
the absolute
faster.
goal. Come on. I'll be doing it next year, 100%. I really want to build up to the miles one, but the kilometer one for me is going to be something I'm going to do. So 1 kilometer for day one, right up to 30 kilometers. But I'm going to be doing it with a bit of a difference because at, on day 23, 24, and 25, my wife is away. So I got a boy. So I'm literally, I can't do those days. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do those days at the beginning and just mix it up. Because as long as I do the days, at the end of the days,
Yeah,
parenthood.
why didn't you put all the dates in a hat and just draw out the number?
Draw out the number, yeah. I mean, the 23 kilometers is what, 14 miles. So it would mean me running 14, and then 15 miles. But I got my little boy. I haven't got a running pram. He would get really pissed off me. So I'm just going to basically switch those days to the beginning of the month and just switch it around so I can still do it. So I'll basically, long story short, James, I'll be testing it and trialing it and giving you a nice, honest review, mate. But yeah, it's hell of a philosophy, mate. Did you start designing this or something when you were in university? Like, were you working with like nutritionists in uni with like a lab or something?
Not too, not too far away. I mean, yes, I guess you could argue that the venture sort of started when I started getting interested in health and fitness and nutrition and stuff, whether that was running, lifting weights, etc. So quite quite early. But yeah, I guess it ramped up sort of more and more at uni, and with every sort of protein bar, flapjack, or energy bar I ate, I guess I got closer and closer to where I am today. And it's I think it's quite a good point to sit down and really talk about it because it's quite nuts to think it's 26 weeks since I picked up those bars from my manufacturer and have had them at home with me, and gradually I think packaging and fulfilling each order that sort of comes in. I think I got a notification about 10 minutes ago when we're on this call, and I can obviously you get used to the sound of when someone places an order and that sort of order fulfillment thing comes through. So it's crazy to think over the last 6 months that's become more and more prevalent in my life, that you gradually, as you can imagine, get a few more orders, luckily, and get a bit busier with it as well. So it's, yeah, I haven't really had a chance to sort of stop and really think about everything that's gone on before or what's going to happen next, really. But 104 5-star reviews, and I think 27 different stores Phoenix bars are now in as well, and having sold almost out of my first batch of Phoenix bars as well, and having my second batch made at the moment, which hopefully I'll pick up next week, is yeah, been incredibly exciting and really, really worthwhile experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, what's been the most rewarding part of doing all of this for you?
I think it has to be the in-person interactions, because obviously we've gradually got more and more online, as we are doing now, obviously. And
Hmm.
I think, particularly in the early stages of setting up a website and being on social media, speaking to people, I was obviously very lucky to do that, and everyone was so generous with their time. But getting to my first ultra running events, whether that was Paul's Barclays Marathon or the Ultra X events, and being able to genuinely meet so many nice ultra runners and hear their enthusiasm about Phoenix bars, was probably the moment are the moments that certainly make those 5 hour car journeys there and back worth it at 4 in the morning. And you're staying in an Airbnb the night before and you haven't had lunch or dinner, so you're probably having a Phoenix bar, etc., etc. And you're never really sure how it can work and whether people are going to like it or be interested or buy them. So those are probably the moments where it's almost a sigh of relief that people do like them and it's really helps people. But yeah, I think also equally reading the reviews of my website, especially the ones that I guess come a bit out of the blue, where someone types on that Phoenix bars boosted them to their best ultra endurance performance ever, which it's almost quite hard to fathom really, but it's to be able to help people get more energy dense, digestible nutrition and help them to really find something that works for them is very rewarding as well. So here's to hopefully over the next 6 months finding more people that need Phoenix bars.
Awesome. That's awesome. And now's your time, James, as well. Do you want to tell the listeners, so everybody's listening, how do they get hold of them?
It's a great question. So Phoenix bars, you obviously very kindly mentioned, Reese, my Instagram, Flaming Phoenix UK, where I think it's got a link to my website where you can find Phoenix bars through there as well. So my website is www.flaming-phoenix.co.uk, which no doubt you guys will mention in some sort of show notes or via Instagram as well. So Phoenix bars is still probably best to get through my website, but equally in person now in 27 different shops, including in a couple in Wales as well. Not sure the demographic of your listeners, I imagine a fair few Welsh. So you've got the Soulmate running shop, a great independent specialist running shop who gone through their Phoenix bars very well, where you can find Phoenix bars equally up and under. A specialist outdoors shop in Wales as well stocks Phoenix bars. So hopefully people will see more and more Phoenix bars coming around. If you're in North Wales as well, Capel Curing area, Joe Brown's climbing shop has Phoenix bars as well. So hopefully we'll find my way into a few more shops. If you're into your bricks and mortar shopping, equally just a quick Google search for Phoenix bars or for Flaming Phoenix will quickly hopefully find you to my unique flapjacks.
Well,
Reece, you got him in Motti.
I was just about to say, yeah, James. I mean, we'll have to link up after this, mate, because my second job is I work in a running shop in Cardiff called Moti, M-O-T-I, or Motti. I don't really know how it's pronounced. I think it's Moti. And they've got two in Cardiff, one in Cwmbran, one in Bristol. They're kind of tied in with Rugby Heaven as well. The owners own Rugby Heaven. So there's a rugby background, running background. But just from working in the shop in the short time we have triathletes, ultra runners, your everyday runners, your 5Kers, you got hikers, everyone coming in, cyclists all the time. And we've got a little kind of stockist right next to the till that has your usual gels and stuff. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think we've got any. I'm trying to think. I don't think we've got any bars. I think it's all tailwind tablets and gels. I'm pretty certain of, yeah. So I don't think we've got any bars. So actually, we can link up after this, James. I can potentially put you in contact with my manager, and he can float the idea to the owners of the shop, because it is a very popular shop. They got their own running club and stuff. Yeah, it's a pity really that you couldn't have sorted it out sooner, because they had a Brooks demo night on Monday just gone, where the Brooks rep went down there and they did a few tester, and they've got Hoka going down there on the 22nd of November, and there's the shop I work at and a local wellbeing hub, Love Live Light Healing Hub, are kind of joining it with them. And so there'll be a lot of people there. So for things like that, for future reference, because I know it won't be the last event, we can link up and maybe look at trialing a few of your bars in there, see how it goes for you, really.
Absolutely. I think that's the key question that I've tried to ask everyone I've had the pleasure of speaking to today, and even tried to get into Nathan with last night, and he sent me a lot of very helpful suggestions. But if anyone's listening, any suggestions on people, organizations, shops, running groups, events that I should reach out to that might be interested in my unique flapjacks, please do let me know, because I'm keen to try and speak to anyone and everyone within this space and slightly outside this space as well to understand if I can help in any way.
Perfect. I'm assuming Nathan mentioned Pegasus to you already.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We've got to get them in there. Pegasus Ultra Running, they're the best, man. They're the best. And Reese and Karis are amazing people, and I'm sure if you reached out to them, they'd like to do what they can to help. So yeah, definitely worth doing, mate. You'll find, you mentioned that your most rewarding part of this is the kind of community and the interactions you've had, and I totally agree. Me and Nathan have only been doing this since January, and we met a bunch of people just from doing local ultras anyway, but just through this, we've met so many amazing, inspiring people like yourself. Like I said, this, at the end of the day, you've created a bloody good product there, mate, that I hope keeps going and going for you, because it's really promising and you've got some real special features and ingredients in there, mate. So I wish you all the best with it. Yeah, it's just been great chatting to you, mate. And I don't know if you've got anything else, Nate, you want to ask James about?
Yeah. Do you ship around the world, James?
So at the moment, unfortunately, it's something I've been looking into, but it's primarily in the UK. As you can imagine, Brexit has added a few sort of tricky rules and regulations. So Phoenix bars at the moment can only be found within the UK. But if you do have an exotic ultra that you are going to, you're able to buy Phoenix bars and take them abroad.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind in 2026, because funnily enough, the Ultra X you mentioned earlier, I'm lined up already to do Rwanda in January. I'm lined up to do all of them. If I can get the funding, I'm doing all of them in 1 year. But the other thing I was going to say, what was that then? My mate, Matt in Australia, he's a vegan, does ridiculous challenges and ultras. He's a phenomenal runner. I might reach out to him and potentially get a few bars off you at some point, buy him and get them sent over to him as a little gift for him to try it. And you can get like a bit of an Australian review on the go as well. You never know.
That's definitely one of the next steps would be international shipping. But yeah, in the meantime, just try and speak to, I guess, every ultra runner in the UK, every event, every shop, every group, and yeah, see if there's a way that we can work together. But no, guys, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a real pleasure to be able to delve further into the world of ultra running with you, reflect on everything that's happened so far, because I probably haven't really had time to stop and think since I've started, and think about the next steps, and obviously to hear your enthusiasm for my Phoenix bars from two dedicated ultra runners is equally incredibly rewarding as well. So hopefully some listeners have found Phoenix bars are interesting, and you can order as few as one Phoenix bar through my website, because obviously as a new product, people like to try them, up to sort of as many as you need if you're doing a really extreme ultra challenge, or if you just want to follow on Instagram, reach out and say hi, or if you've got any ideas on product development too, please feel free to reach out for a chat. That would be amazing. But guys, can't thank you enough for having me on again, and no doubt we'll stay in touch, particularly Reese, about getting them to Moti running as well.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully maybe if Nathan tries me, he'll actually finish the Wales Coastal Path next time.
Fuck you. Well, they're not going to stop me breaking my ankle, are they?
That will be the next feature I have to add.
Yeah, a few times, James, you mentioned that we ran the 215, and I was like, oh, I want to say
actually,
it's so bad.
maybe I could use like two of them either side of my ankle and duct tape and use it like a splint.
Bloody hell, I know James said they're dense, mate, but I don't know that they're dense. Yeah, but thank you, James. Really appreciate it, mate. It's been great talking to you. I look forward to getting those free samples, those samples. And legitimately, we'll speak after this about Moti, because it's above my head, obviously. But I'll speak to the owners and see if we can link you up with them. And Steve, our manager's great. He's an ultra runner himself, so hopefully we can do something about it. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, mate. And don't want to take up any more of your time on this Wednesday evening. So Jess, thank you very much for coming on again, and it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers, lads.
Cheers, James.
Nice one, bud.
I haven't done any running again.
Well, I went out this morning and did one. I haven't been running as much recently, but I went to the track this morning and did 5x5 like tempo runs. It was fucking miserable, but good.
Do you feel any difference though doing the track stuff when you get out on the trails?
Yeah, I do. I feel like my pace is picking up a little bit, only a little bit, like marginally, just because obviously I'm doing more like high intensity and anaerobic stuff. So I feel like I don't know if my VO2 max is getting better or whatever, but I'm not doing as much as I should. So hopefully when I start ramping it up, I will. But interestingly, I work with a guy called Owen, who's got his own podcast as well. Him and his mate Dan Nash, they work in the Cardiff Met. They do like all the VO2 max testing and stuff. And had a really interesting conversation with him when I worked with him on Saturday about all that, how to improve it. Because obviously a lot of people do like blood doping and stuff, because they'll take healthy blood out and then they'll put it in
Back in
before
a
a
couple of
race.
weeks later, yeah.
Yeah, totally illegal. But he said there's ways you can do it that is completely legal as long as you're willing to do it. And like, one was for 5 weeks, taking 5 baths a week for 5 weeks for 45 minutes at a time, mind. Hot baths. And he said, because he's actually done the trial himself, and he's had people who want to increase their VO2 max, and his went up by a few percent just by
having a bath.
hot baths. You've got to submerge yourself and up to your shoulders. And when I say hot, like 40 degrees, it's got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Not like burn your bollocks off, but like hot. And he said, do that for 5 weeks. And he said, it's difficult, like, especially if you've got kids and fucking jobs and families and stuff like that. Like, because it ends up being more like an hour or two of your time, because he said you get really, really hungry, you sweat loads, so you get really tired. So it turns into like a big routine. But he said he did it and his VO2 max went up by like 3 or 4% just from hot baths.
Yeah.
It's insane. I know, it's really interesting. He's got it's good. And I tell you what, speaking to Owen on Saturday, he's a shit hot runner as well. He's done ultras,
So
backyard
is he,
ultras.
does he do science and sport or something in uni, does he?
He's currently studying at night. Yeah. And he works over in that Cardiff Met lab. Funny enough, I reached out to them months ago, reached out to Dan and said, if we promote you on our podcast and stuff, or if I come down and do a bit of a video, would you be able to offer any discount? And he said, yeah, we could do it for £90 instead of 140. So it's pricey, but he offered to do it. So potentially that'd be a good, really good episode. But I've said to him, if you need any guinea pigs to do any testing on and stuff, like in terms of testing your endurance, I'd love to have a go of it. It looks horrendous. And it is horrendous, apparently, the VO2 max, because you've got to run until failure, which most people aren't used to doing. And obviously they increase the speed and stuff. But yeah, he was talking to me all about how you can improve your VO2 max and stuff like that. He's a really interesting guy. He's like a 73-minute half marathoner as well. And he's done, I'm sure Steve said he's done 300 plus miles on a backyard ultra, something crazy. I'm sure he said that. He's a beast.
Did you see a woman has broke 2 hours 10?
Yeah.
Fuck. That's mental.
Yeah,
I think she's only like 10 minutes behind the men. That's just nuts.
Did you see the guy who hit the half marathon world record the other day? 57 minutes.
Yeah.
57 minutes and 30 seconds, and the previous record was 31 seconds. We beat it by 1 second.
Did you see Shell White winning the backyard ultra nationals?
Oh yeah,
in her age.
Yes, phenomenal.
What a
Phenomenal.
star.
I know, she's a fucking tank. She's so
Andrew
small.
crushing Garrett Ultra.
Legend. And he's doing the wild horse. No, he's not. He's doing a Pona.
He's got another ultra this weekend as well, hasn't he? 2 in 7 days.
What
He's
a
putting
man.
everyone to shame.
Good for him, man. Fucking good for him. What a legend.
Yeah.
Some inspiring people out there in their fair play.
Yeah, and I can't even get out of fucking 5K.
Mate, fucking he'll come. He'll come. Just he's gonna have to just be one of those unsociable hours, isn't it? Like this morning I had to get out at 5:15. It fucking killed me getting out of bed, mate. I did not want to do it, and I'm hanging tonight, but man, did I feel good when I did that. Five reps.
Yeah, I got around Merthyr Mawr last week before work. That was nice.
Yeah.
Over the sand dune. Yeah.
You feel like shit, do it like when you gotta get up and get out, but it's great. You do feel so much better when you do it. So, but I feel a bit like I'm coming down with something. My boy's got a bad cough. And I felt like this for a couple of weeks, but I don't feel ill. I just feel like I've got something coming on, but it never really hits me.
I'm the
So-
same. I jumped on the Stairmaster the other day, and I got to about half hour. I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm done today. I just can't go on. Yeah, I think I'm out with Andrew from Traitors on the weekend.
Who?
You know Andrew from Traitors? Did you watch Traitors last year? The Welsh guy with the scar?
Fuck me, everybody went on about that show and work. I never watched it once. No, I
Well,
know what you mean.
I got talking to him before I did the Welsh Coast because he was like doing stuff for Cerebral Palsy Wales as well. So we just got chatting and we just like continued to chat and everything. So he's currently walking the length of the UK. So he's just done Ireland. He's just got back to Chester today. And then now he's coming down through Wales back to Cardiff.
Cool. Do that and get some footage with him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, because he can't run because his knees are fucked. So he's just walking. First couple of days he was in agony, but you can see he's like getting into a rhythm with it now.
I played him. I'll have to
Yeah.
show me his page. I don't know who
Yeah,
he is.
sure.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
All right. As always, guys, thank you so much to anyone who's tuned in, listened, and subscribed to any of our previous episodes. As I'm sure you'll agree, that was a brilliant episode with James, and we've got some amazing guests coming in the future as well. So yeah, please keep listening. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Cheers, guys. Bye.